everything that I have learned, whether it was reading, the experiences of other people, it's everything positive. It just amazes me how others have not heard as much as they should from the movement itself, from Mr. Fethullah Gulen. Alone to be able and breaking barriers, you know, this is almost like a taboo. Here's the thing: when you have, especially charitable contributions, charitable, I don't think it has a country. Students. My name is Detective Jose A. Valdes. I am a detective here in the City of Philadelphia Police Department. I am a proud father of 5 kids, 5 children. I have 4 girls and 1 son, and they're all pretty much on their own right now. And I've been living in the city of Philadelphia for a little over 30 years. I'm originally born and raised in the city of Chicago, Illinois. It was a wonderful, and it's great how things work out. I was invited to a Peace Island dinner that was celebrated on City Line Avenue. And I got to meet actually from one of my co-workers, Soar Knight, invited me to this dinner, which I never heard of before. And, you know, he told me it was a great way to meet other people. So eventually my daughter and I went to the dinner, and we got introduced to what the Peace Island Institute does. The view that I have, that I've seen almost from the beginning, with the different people that I met on that dinner, inclusive Murad and Ghazi, that I met that day, it's never been introduced to an atmosphere that way, in a way that of what people do to service others. And me being in public service as a police officer, you only get to see pretty much the bad things in our community, and I'm always looking for the good things. So with this event that we had, I was able to feed from the experiences of other people of what the Peace Island Institute. And let me tell you, almost everybody that I met there had something more than positive things to say about the movement. Everything that I have learned, whether it was reading, the experiences of other people, it's everything positive. It just amazes me how others have not heard as much as they should from the movement itself, from Mr. Fethullah Gulen. For me, a way of thinking, he's a philosopher, I want to say. His way of thinking encompasses everything. It's not just concentrated on one area, and it just covers the needs of everybody. That in itself, me being a scholar that want to actually get to know the humanity of people, what better than the philosophy and the lessons that he have taught? And I have learned a whole lot. Why I didn't know of him years ago, I wish I would have, because I would have learned a whole lot more. Because many of the things that I have learned, including the people that I have met, what I have read, I have applied it. I have applied it in my life. I have applied it in my job. And again, I just don't see how people didn't realize or even know about the importance of the philosophy and the teachings and the lessons that Mr. Gulen gives all of us. In many movements that I've known of or seen, and not only in the Muslim world, but in all other worlds, they put much emphasis on one thing, to the point where now you start seeing other organizations or other groups in a negative way, and that's not favorable. But when you sit down and talk to a group of kids, a group of adults, and you're trying to teach them something, you don't want them to leave there feeling animosity towards a particular group or hatred towards another group, or start seeing people differently. The whole aspect is to be able to be open to anyone and anybody, regardless of their political, religious, or economic, status in their lives. So that is the difference that I see with this. They're completely open to discussing, not discussing, to dialogues, with other, regardless of that, image that people have for each other. Interfaith dialogue, I mean, this is a genius concept. To say the least. It's a genius concept, which is something that people, it's not that they thought about it maybe before, it's maybe they just didn't want to. There was no reason for me to talk to someone of a different faith because, I already have, but to be able to teach kids, and we're talking about, you don't have to convert, or just to be able to have interfaith conversations, to know about what is your belief system. If these were all roads, they will all lead to the same thing, because at the end of the day, if everybody practiced, the important thing of love and be able to share with others and look at the needs of people, we will never be having the problems that we're having today. The initiative alone to be able, and breaking barriers. This was almost like a taboo for many people to be able, how dare you? You can't even be in the same room with those type of people. To be able to break those barriers and dare people to say, listen, let's all get together. Regardless, I want to learn from you. You want to learn from me. We'll probably learn that we have so many things in common, contrary to what people say that we're completely apart. So even daring to break those barriers and bring everybody under one roof, which is something that until today is just like, we have big governments still meeting in rooms and can't accomplish anything, But yet when you have all these religious leaders that people look up to and represent, when they see their leader in a room sharing with someone, what do you think they're going to say? Well, it's okay then. It's quite okay to be able to sit down and learn from others and talk about subjects, not argue, not throw at each other and you're right, I'm wrong, but to be able to just bring everything in perspective, because we're only serving humanity. We're looking for people that are in need, that are suffering, the people that are lacking education, or we take things for granted. When we go to other countries, and for example, the time in Turkey, I seen kids that were from Syria. They were running from Syria, so they had this pocket and families. And we think, wow, we have it all, but yet, when you're able to bring these people, everyone, in a room and have a genuine conversation, it's genius. Genius. Here's the thing, when you have, especially charitable contributions, charitable, I don't think it has a country. I don't think it has ethnicity. I don't think it has religion. We all suffer. When there's an earthquake in a country, when there's a tsunami in a country, and in a different country from yours, being charitable to all these people, regardless of where they come from, that's where it counts. We have organizations that only, and I know of them, that only, help what we call their own. If it's from the outside of either a belief system, outside of their, ethnic background, outside, well, we kind of keep everything here. Well, I don't know how charitable that could be. But when you're open, and I have seen it, the call for donations, when it has to do in another country, and when I see things, that there's no barriers. And here's one thing that's different from the rest. You always have that identification factor, like, okay, we're doing this, but we would like you to do this for us. I have yet to hear that, from the Hizmet movement or all the charitable, when they say, well, listen, we want you to, we're doing this for you, but we want you to, to convert. We want you to, you don't hear this. The whole concept of just helping because you want to help, priceless. The schools that we visited, the universities, one of the universities that we visited in Turkey, just to talk with the students that were involved there, and understand that part of my job here, I deal with hate crimes on a daily basis, which is not a good issue, and I go to many schools. because even at that age level, you know, from elementary to middle school to high school, they're already getting involved in what we talk about hate crimes and bullying that's going on in the schools. And they're lacking so many things in life. Here, I got to talk to many of the students. And of course, again, the important thing, they made me feel at home. We took many pictures. We dialogued the brief time that we had, and the excitement that they have, the contribution that they feel that they're doing to their community, to their country. They were proud to represent their schools and many competitions. I've seen all the awards, and that for me is the most important thing, because without education, and I know that Mr. Gulen emphasizes a whole lot, and he won me with that. That in itself brought me with that education level, which is something that our youth today are lacking. And it's not just going into a building and opening up a book, and you know, it's learning, and what you learn to apply it to humanity. I mean, what are you going to do with all that education, everything that you learned in school? You're going to apply it out there. And the movement itself, not only does it teaches you these things, but it also encourages you to go out there and share that knowledge with others. So that in itself was primarily my most important thing that I see in the movement. One of the things that I brought with me from Turkey was the fact that the call for prayer. We had to stop. We're spiritual people, I want to say, and when we sat down a year later and talked about the trip, everybody said, oh, the sites, the museums and everything. But me, that call for prayer, every time it came, it just stopped us from doing anything. For a brief moment, for just a brief moment, you forget, if anything, everything that's going on around you, the problems, all the altercations, the difficult. For one moment, you're at peace. You're in communication. You know, how often do people do that in their lives, in whatever belief that they have? You know, for me, that was the most important thing that people can do. You know, for that brief moment to just remember. You know, where you came from. Remember those things that are much more important than the mundane things in this world. So that is my vision of what Islam is.
I think where this movement is different is where it brings it more personal. And it brings people into each other's homes and into each other's hearts in a way that will really transform people.
To the extent that the Hizmet movement has been able to galvanize the imagination and use resources to promote education, to promote peace, to promote interfaith dialogue and understanding, only makes our world a better place.